We've got Joey in the UK. Whereabouts in the UK are you? I mean, you don't have to be too specific. London. You're in London as well.
Yes, I am in London.
Well,
and happy early birthday to Ian for Tuesday, was it?
Yes, thank you.
This coming Tuesday. How can we help? What's the question, Joey?
Yeah, so I mean, I kind of got one main question and probably one or two related ones that maybe I can call back another week with. But I guess probably it starts with what, because I think I've heard this mentioned a few times on the show before, but never really got it nailed down. But like, what the very basic building blocks of reason are that we probably all have to accept, that everyone has to presuppose in order to then build up a rational worldview, and then that dovetails into how you argue with presuppositionists who presuppose God and then say, you know, I can just presuppose God if you're presupposing that A equals A, for example. Like, how do you challenge that?
Oh, so I want to make sure I'm understanding you, Joey. What you're asking is, it's not so much what everyone should understand about reason, but how far should we presuppose? Like, if I talk about, we can't prove that reason is absolutely infallible. So we have to presuppose that reason is reasonable, that we're going to reach conclusions. And so if you're dealing with a presuppositionalist who wants to presuppose God, you know, how do you deal with that being perhaps a bridge too far? Is that kind of what you're getting to?
Yeah, basically. So, I mean, like, there'll be certain things that both I and a presuppositionist would probably, like, they would have to presuppose that reason is rational as well. But then how do I, you know, so what are those things that we all accept, or that we presumably all accept? And then where do you draw that line, and how do you say to draw the line?
Yeah, it's going to be difficult to get them to agree to that, because as I've engaged in debates with presuppositionalists on a number of occasions, and what they're actually doing is, I say, look, you're presupposing the same things that I am. You are presupposing reason. And their answer is that they're not presupposing reason. What they're presupposing is a grounding for reason, that rather than suffering as I do with a lack of confidence or a lack of certainty that reason is reasonable, they're presupposing a God, which then serves as a grounding for reason, and that guarantees that reason's reasonable. The problem is that while they'll freely acknowledge that they presuppose a God, I don't know what the justification is for that, because we know that we apply reasoning. We can, use those skills, and we trust and have confidence in reason to the extent that it continues to prove reliability. But that doesn't mean they are ignoring that reliability, and they're like, oh, if I can't be absolutely certain, it would be better for me to presuppose something that could make me absolutely certain. But you don't get to do that. That would be my response to that. Would be like, it would just be like me presupposing that reason is in fact absolute. I just haven't taken an extra step.
So it sounds like you're saying that we're not necessarily saying I'm presupposing that these rational groundings are in fact absolute. We're presupposing them and then using them to justify the things that we're presupposing, as opposed to them saying, I'm saying this is absolutely true, and it will always be true, and it has to be true.
Right.
It's a slightly different thing. So it's almost like that sort of scientific skepticism that everything is subject to new evidence and to new to change based on new information. And so we're saying the same thing with our presuppositions. Is that about right?
I think so, assuming I'm following it. What I like to point out is that reason is the tool that we're using to kind of evaluate claims and thoughts. And it would be kind of like, if I handed you a ruler that was marked out, like just a 12-inch ruler, and it has its markings on it, and you run around and you start measuring things with it. Well, no measurement that you take can ever be more accurate than the device you're measuring it with. So you can't be more confident in that, this measurement that you took is 3 1/4 inches. And it's based entirely on your confidence level in the ruler. Now, you could say, I'm going to presuppose that the ruler is accurate, But you can also point to, hey, here's the imperial standard. Here's the golden ruler, which, sits somewhere. And so now I have something to do that. We don't have a golden standard for reason. And what the theological presuppositionalists are doing is presupposing that there is a God that serves as a standard for it. And I don't know how much headway you can make of convincing them that they're taking a step too far, because in their mind, everything has to have a grounding. And in my mind, that's not the case. Like, I'm fine using a ruler without knowing how it measures up to the gold standard, because I'm only using it in context, and I'm only ever saying this is accurate to whatever degree my ruler is accurate.
Yeah, no, I guess that makes sense. I mean, it sounds like it's just one of those difficult problems that if someone has taken that step further, that it's going to be very difficult to actually, I guess, find a common bridge there. That they either can accept that yours is a bit more of a ground, not grounded, but I don't know, a bit more of a tentative presupposition than theirs, and that's maybe the differentiation.
It could be. I don't know. Ian, did you hear a lot of this while we were trying to fix a mic? I wanted to make sure you got into.
Yes, I did. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Joey, hi. Thank you for your birthday wishes. What do you have you said what your position is? What you believe or don't believe, or because I'm asking because of something else I want to ask.
Yeah, no, I'm an atheist. Agnostic atheist. I don't believe in a God, and I don't see any evidence for one.
All right. Do you find when you are talking to believers about this sort of issue that the issues you just raised, fundamentals of reason and what are the basic building blocks, do you find that comes up a lot?
Well, it's actually not so much that I actually don't have that many non-believers in my life that I speak to. I actually mostly just watch the show and get interested in it. The main place where this came up was actually speaking to a friend of mine who's also a non-believer, and he was playing devil's advocate, and I couldn't quite.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the expert is sitting on the other side of the screen, not this side, if you want to talk about the fundamentals of reason. But I've had quite a few conversations like that over the many years I've been walking this earth. And it's very, very rare that people get bogged down on that kind of level of epistemology. I mean, it is interesting, of course it is, but it's not really got much to do, I find, with what people believe and why they believe it.
Yeah, it is a little esoteric, but it's more. It just, for me, like it kind of sits at the fundamental level that it kind of bothers me in the back of my mind. Like what am I taking a step that is irrational when my whole worldview is meant to be rational?
Yeah,
acknowledging that there are gaps in your understanding of the world is what separates us from the others. Now, I will say that while I love these sorts of things, being a little bit of a philosophy geek, this rarely comes up outside of call-in shows or when I'm actually debating a presuppositionalist. And I will say, so it's a great point from Ian, and that is that also I'm not too worried about it, because having met and interacted with a number of presuppositionalists, I can tell you with strong confidence, they are the ones who are least likely to ever change their mind, because they've convinced themselves that they have presupposed a necessary thing that grounds all of reality. And if you even suggest that maybe they try to give that up for a moment, their view is that everything about reality crumbles and descends into chaos. And they think they've solved a problem which philosophers generally view as unsolvable. I don't know how to really compete with that.
I also think whenever this sort of subject comes up, really you just have to say it's turtles all the way down.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Joey, thanks a lot for the call. Hopefully we helped out a little bit. And next time, just go over and see Ian. I mean, you guys are probably within a couple of kilometers of each other.
We'll meet up in the pub, because that's legal now. We can do that.
Yeah, well, I think it's next week, right? I think, yeah. So, no,
Yeah.
I appreciate the time you've taken, and yeah, that's given me a bit of food for thought. And yeah, again, long-time listener, first-time caller. So, you know, the show's been quite a big influence on my life so far. So, you know, I very much appreciate talking to you both.
Cheers. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
All right. So yeah, I know there were people who were like, "Hey, what's going on and what happened?" We had a couple of microphone options, and one sounded better than the other, and now this one sounds better than the other one. And plus, you don't have to sit there and hold it, so you get to be more relaxed.
Maybe.